Let me bring in a brilliant panel tonight. Joining me on the desk, real live humans, Amanda Rose from Small Business Women Australia. Good to see you, Amanda. And Caleb Bond popping in early from the late debate. Let's start with the horrible, serious stuff first, and a lot of focus on the shocking demonstration protest against Israel in support of Hamas in Sydney earlier this week. One almost as bad in Melbourne the next night. But Caleb, 1,000 police now getting ready to stop any protests this weekend in Sydney. That's good, but it's kind of a bit late.
Indeed, and this is an illegal protest that is set to happen in Sydney this weekend. So presumably these 1,000 police will be rounding up all these people and getting them out of Hyde Park, which is where they are now apparently going to go. But the police have already said that if they get a serious crowd there, even with 1,000 coppers, it will be hard for them to control it. Now, as far as I'm concerned, if you have to, Chris Minns or the Police Commissioner should be straight on the phone to Jacinta Allen or Peter Malinauskas or I don't care who, and get reinforcements.
Get more police.
Get reinforcements, because what we saw on Monday night was rank anti-Semitism. I mean, we saw, as we know, people on the streets of Sydney shouting, "Gas the Jews." Now, if you can do that, and I don't think a single person has been arrested from that evening, except from a man who was waving an Israeli flag, if you can get away with that on Monday, why would they not think they're going to get away with it on Sunday?
Yeah, it's got to be stopped. Amanda, I cannot help but compare this to how ruthless and tough the police were, sometimes with Army Defence Force assistance, to stop people protesting against the lockdowns. A lot of small business people protesting against the lockdowns, but apparently the Islamist extremists trying to support a Hamas terrorist group, they're a bit too hard to stop.
That's actually a really good point to make, because people were literally saying, you've locked us down, our business have shut down, you're forcing people to take something they don't want to take in their bodies just to keep a job. And they were literally had tear gas and horses trampling on them and arrested.
They should ask Daniel Andrews about the rubber bullets, you know.
Well, maybe Daniel Andrews can handle this.
Yeah. Yet we say that these Hamas sympathisers are too difficult to manage.
Well, it is a reflection of what the particular leader thinks at the time, of what they think deserves to be shut down and what doesn't. But also don't forget, when any protest is usually a small little pack of leaders that are troublemakers. I guarantee you that group, there are a lot of people that think they're going to that to be pro-Palestine, not necessarily pro the shocking things that have happened, thinking, hang on a minute, we're being victimised. So I feel for them, because there's always a ringleader causing trouble and then everyone else gets roped in.
But when you hear "gas the Jews,"
that's ridiculous.
And that wasn't just two people shouting that. That was a massive
That's what I mean, the emotion, everyone starts to pipe in, very dangerous.
And just on the different approach from the police, I'm not suggesting the police are political, but this is where political correctness comes in. This is the sharp end of political correctness. I would suggest that the difference here is the pro-Palestine, if you like, pro-Hamas demonstration as seen as being broadly of the political left, and those people protesting their freedom from lockdowns are seen to be from the right. That's pretty simple. One's seen as the far left, one's seen as the far right. Police have totally different approaches to both of them, because that's the mindset of the bureaucracies and the governments around the country. Let me just show you what Peter Dutton had to say about Sydney's protesters on radio this morning.
If there were people there who are on visas, they should be identified and they should have their visas cancelled. They should be deported. People with that hate in their minds and their hearts don't have any place in our society.
Well, who could disagree with Peter Dutton there, Caleb? Of course, if someone's on a visa saying death to the Jews, get out of the country. But the problem is the overwhelming majority of these people are Australian citizens, and most of them born here.
Yeah, and that it's an interesting discussion around the people who go to these protest rights. Many of them are second and third generation. They're not fresh off the boat.
No.
And they tend to be the ones who get radicalised, because they've never had to live in Palestine. They've never dealt with what goes on over there, and they have this grandiose idea of the motherland and what it's actually like. And you know, it's not actually like that, surprisingly enough. But Dutton is right. Anyone who was at that protest, and I don't care whether they shouted "Gas the Jews" or not, if you rocked up to that protest on Monday night, you knew the context of it. And the context of it is that Hamas attacked innocent civilians in Israel, and Israel has simply retaliated to that, as well it should. If you want to have a discussion about, you know, whether or not Palestine should exist, that's a different matter entirely. But that was done in the context of the Hamas attack. So it's not unfair to assume that anyone, regardless of whether they chanted or not, who rocked up to that protest is a sympathiser of Hamas and therefore a terrorist sympathiser and should not be in this country.
They're a proscribed organisation, and exactly, it was a pro-Hamas rally.